Tokuchingamidza mese.
Yeah, that's what I was looking. I want to welcome everybody
Toda kuchingamidza mese
to our second presentation.
presentation yedu yechipiri.
Let's open with the word of prayer.
Ngativhurei nemunamato.
Holy God, we thank you
Mwari vatsvene
for
tinokutendai
your continued watch care over us at this camp meeting.
nekuramba muchitarisira kucamp meeting ino.
Thank you for the truth that you're trying to bring to our attention.
Tokutendai nechokwadi chamuri kuzama kuti tipay
Sometimes
attention
we don't
kwachiri.
understand the path that you're taking us along.
Dzimwe nguva hatinzwisisi nzira iyo munenge
Help
muchitiendesa
me,
nayo.
help
Ndibetsereiwo.
each of us
Betserai umwe neumwe
to be
wedu
patient
kuti tive patient
and to find joy in the journey.
uye kuva nemufaro
The journey
murwendo.
along this narrow path that you are taking us along.
Murwendo mumugwagwa uyo wakatopetwa
We may not
nechifundo.
understand everything that you're showing us today,
Togona kusanzwisisa zvamuri kutiratidza nhasi.
but as you have done in the past,
Asi sezvamakamboita kare,
I believe you will continue to do in the future,
ndinotenda kuti mucharamba muchitiratidza
that you will
kumberi.
make known unto us
Kuti muchazotizivisa
what we don't understand at this moment.
zvinhu zvatisinganzwisisi panguva ino.
Bless us with this promise,
Tikomboreriwo
this hope,
nepromise iyi
in Jesus'
nehope
name.
iyi muzita raJesu.
Amen.
Amen.
So we've been speaking about the Second Amendment at some length,
Akatanga achitaura nezve-second amendment.
and someone has reminded me,
Pane andirangaridza,
so therefore I want to remind yourselves,
saka ndoda kurangaridzaiwo
that there's a third amendment.
kuti kune amendment
I
yechitatu.
guess it's obvious, but it's one that we don't talk about often.
Ndeiyo yatisinganyanyi kutaura nezvayo.
So if you're going to, actually you shouldn't be looking that up because you shouldn't have internet. So I'll do it for you. I guess the quickest way is if I just write it out. No soldier
Yechitatu inoti hakuna musoja
shall, in times of peace,
uyo
it says singing,
munguva
not times,
yerunyararo
in time of peace, be housed
achazopa
without permission
achazopuwa pokugara pasina mvumo
of the owner,
yemuridzi,
nor in time of war
kana munguva yehondo,
but in a manner
asi nenzira
according to the law.
iyo inoenderana nemutemo.
So I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this,
Saka hatisi kuzopambadza nguva yakawanda pane izvi,
but what's the obvious context here?
asi context iri pachena
Because
ndeipi apa?
this amendment is quite explicit, it's quite clear.
Nekuti amendment iyi yakajeka.
Anybody want to venture?
Pane anoda kuzama here?
So it's about wartime.
Ndeye nguva yehondo.
Soldiers, these are not the citizens, these are soldiers.
Mauto, havasi vagari vemunyika yamauto.
Now, obviously, this is a separate independent amendment.
Iyi amendment
I'm not
yakazvimiririra.
I'm not trying to turn this into 2A, it's number 3.
handisi kuzama kuda kuita kunge i2A amendment yechitatu.
But I want us to see that it's talking about soldiers.
Asi toda kuti tione kuti tiri kutaura nezvemauto.
And it's talking about a time of peace and a time of war.
Zvakare iri kutaura nguva yehondo nenguva yerunyararo.
And the limits to we'll call it the soldier or the army's authority.
Uye malimits ane masimba ane.
So I just want to make that clear that there is this tension, if you like, between the military, its abuse of the citizens,
saka ndoda kuti tione kuti pane mukakatana wemauto nekuabhusa kwavanoita
the responsibility of
ma-citizens
the government or law.
uye responsibility yehurumende kana mutemo.
Okay, so I received some questions,
Saka ndagamuchirawo
and together let's
mibvunzo.
see if we can answer some of them.
Pamwe chete ngatione kuti togona kuipindura here.
So last week I spoke about, I'm going to call it the subject, or I used the term or the word morality.
Vhiki rakapfuura ndakataura nezvenyaya yevara rekuti morality.
I'll give you the question, then I'll give you the context.
Ndichakupai mubvunzo ndozokupai context yacho.
Talking about self-defense.
Tichitaura nezvekuzvidzivirira.
So the subject is self-defense.
Subject ndeyekuzvidzivirira.
So we understand that.
Saka tinozvinzwisisa.
And the question is,
Mubvunzo ndewekuti
is self-defense moral
kuzvidzivirira
or prophetic?
kuri moral here kana kuti kuri prophetic?
How should we understand that?
Tinofanira kuzvinzwisisa sei izvi?
Who wants to help this person?
Ndiani anoda kubatsira munhu uyu?
Put your hands up.
Simudzai maoko enyu.
Last week, the context when we spoke about self-defense, is this in a moral perspective or a prophetic perspective?
Vhiki rapfuura pataitaura nezve self defense yaiva muono uri moral here kana kuti uri prophetic?
Who wants to have a go?
Ndiani anoda kuzama?
Magda?
Magda.
Yeah? You have to wait for the mic. Before you do that, let me give the context. I said that I would do that.
Usati wadaro rega ndipe context
So
yacho.
I did a study in 2020.
Ndakaita chidzidzo muna 2020 Portugal.
And the class was about prophecy or morality. I guess that was the title in some shape or form.
Class yacho musoro wenyaya waiti prophecy kana morality. Ndo yaiva title. Yaiva series.
In one of the classes,
I
said that the test is moral.
Ndakati test yacho iri moral.
The test would be the great test.
Test inenge iri
and
test
I gave
huru.
a reason according to the questioner.
Ndakapa ma-reasons maererano nemunhu aibvunza.
Because it's about us and our neighbors.
Nekuti ndeye pamusoro pedu
So if you remember the context of those studies,
tikarangarira context yezvidzidzo izvi.
This is when, if I phrase it this way,
kana
we
ndikazvitaura
began to
nenzira
shift
iyi
from the 4 to the 6
takatanga
commandments.
kushifta kubva kune macommandments mana tichienda kune 6.
1 second. Sorry. So was it the dealing with the 4 or the 6 commandments?
Saka taitila ne4
If we say defense is okay,
kana tichiti kuzvidzivirira
would it
kwakanaka,
change the premise of that thought that I've just shared?
zvinoshandura premise yepfungwa yandashare here iyi.
the thought is the test is moral.
Pfungwa yekuti test iri moral.
Okay, that's it.
Okay. So last week, you were saying you're trying to avoid moral, adding to it.
Last week maiti muda kuzama
So
kuavoida moral.
I would say prophetic, but maybe both.
Saka ndoti prophetic.
Okay, so last week you were saying that you're trying to avoid moral statements.
Last week maiti muda kuzama kuavoida mastatements ari moral.
So you were trying to avoid that. So I would say it's prophetic, but
Saka
I think it's maybe both.
maizama kuavoida saka ndoti zviri prophetic asi ndofunga kuti zviri both prophetic nemoral.
Is that your answer? Could you define morality?
Tidefinirewo morality.
And whatever you say. Oh, I was asking you. You don't know? Okay. We'll go for prophecy then. Can you define prophecy?
Unogona kudefinawo here prophecy.
But not now.
Okay. Okay. We'll go with Arian. What you answering?
The prophecy part.
Go with the morality one.
No, that's the one I
Halo?
no, I don't.
Okay, go with the prophecy. We'll make it easy.
What I remember, I think it was the 2020 studies where we said prophecy is morality with time, on a specific time.
2020 kana
Oh, so you are going to answer
takati
that one then.
prophecy immorality
What is it? It's morality.
ine nguva mairi.
Prophecy without time.
Saka morality prophecy isina nguva.
Yeah. That's what you're saying?
No.
Oh, you don't make a
No.
mistake?
I said prophecy is morality.
Oh, okay.
At a specific time.
I don't have an eraser. So let me change this. So morality with time is prophecy.
Yes.
Saka morality ine nguva ndoya
So I
kuti
could say
prophecy.
morality is prophecy without time then.
Sandogona kuti
That's what I was thinking
morality
you were
prophecy
writing down.
without
But
time.
that's
Ranaishunga
not
kuti
what I
muri
said.
kunyora.
And so prophecy is morality
Prophecy immorality
with time.
ine nguva.
Okay, can you explain what that means?
Tsanangurawo
Go with that,
zvinorevei.
Dave. What does that mean?
Zvinorevei.
Time in a sense that in a sense of present truth. So there is a specific subject
Tichitasana nepresent
needs to be
truth.
taught at a specific moment, at a specific time.
Pane subject rinechifana
I'm going to put
kudzidziswa
dispensation then.
paspecific moment, paspecific
So
time.
let's say
Saka
whatever,
iwanyora dispensation.
equality or slavery is a moral issue.
Saka ngatiti kana kuti equality kana kuti slavery immoral issue.
But it becomes prophetic when it is taught when it needs to be taught at that time.
Asi
Okay.
inozova
So I'm going to put
prophetic
context
kana
as well.
ichifanira kudzidziswa panguva iri specific.
Are
Saka
you okay with
ndichanyora
those
kuti
two
context zvakare.
sort of nuances to as proxies for time? Okay.
Saka
Anyone else?
dispensational necontext zvanyorwa semaproxy enguva.
Did you have your hand up to me? Okay, so
Pane
we'll go from the
zvakare
back
here,
and move forward.
tichibva mumashure tichiuya kumberi.
So Tamina, Shemaine, blessing.
I was just going to say that morality is what is right and what is wrong.
Ndanga
So
ndichazwa
morality is right and wrong,
The
morality
standard
zvinhu
of what is right
zvakanaka,
and what is wrong.
standard
wrong,
yezvinhu
yeah.
zvakanaka
and
nezvakashata.
prophecy is
Prophecy chii?
What we said, it's morality or the standard of what is right and wrong with time.
Morality hanzi naTamina istandard yezvakanaka nezvakaipa, asi paiswa nguva.
okay, Shemaine.
We have the
Shemaine,
same thoughts.
tine pfungwa dzakafanana.
In your own words, please, because I didn't understand what Tamina meant. So explain.
Morality is to know what is good and what is bad.
Morality kuziva zvakanaka nezvakaipa.
Morality will teach you or will tell you what is bad and what is good.
Morality inokudzidzisa zvakanaka
I
nezvakashata.
got that. You repeated it.
Repeat it because you look at me, so maybe you don't understand me.
No, I understood. And prophecy.
It's the same. If I have to add something, just maybe event of all the answer.
Paprophecy
I
ndinongozoedhera
heard event. I didn't
event.
hear what you said after.
Just add event on to add a thought on what is on the board.
Event
Yeah, maybe.
here,
Kana tiri paprophecy maybe edherai kuti
not
event pane
event
zviri
here.
paboard.
What you
You said morality is right and wrong, good or bad.
Wati morality zvakanaka
And what's the
nezvakaipa.
event?
Saka event chii?
Does the event go here?
Event yacho inoenda apa
So the
here?
event would be
Event inenge
slavery.
iri chii?
Or
Tomboti
not, I don't know.
slavery.
if we take for us equality, it's
Sekuti
not really an
tikatora
event, but let's
equality.
say equality
Tomboti
arrive at the
equality.
time period, and
To-
this
to-
is it.
Tove nenguva.
Okay. Blessing. Oh, are we able to sort the echo out with that mic? Because it's really distracting. Blessing.
Yeah, so I wanted to give my understanding of morality and prophecy.
Ndodawo kupa kunzwisisa kwangu kwemorality neprophecy.
So I understand morality to be behavior,
Morality ndinoinzwisisa iri
both good and
behavior.
bad,
Behavior yakanaka neyakashata.
in relation to self and others.
Maererano newe pachezvako uye nevamwe.
That's my understanding of morality.
Okay. So is that
Ndokunzwisisa kwangu
right and wrong
kwemorality.
behavior?
Yeah.
Behavior yakanaka neyakashata.
And then prophecy,
And then paprophecy.
I wouldn't necessarily say time,
And ndinogona kusati zvangu
but I
nguva.
would say it's, good and bad behavior amongst humans,
Asi ndongoti behavior
with
yakanaka
a
neyakashata
specific direction.
pakati pevanhu iine direction iri specific.
So what I mean by direction
Zvandoreva nedirection
is that human behavior is leading to an outcome, or it's leading somewhere.
kuti behavior yevanhu iri kuvatungamirira
And prophecy
kune
points out
outcome
where
kana
that
kuti kumwe
behavior
kunhu.
is leading to.
Prophecy inotinongedza kuri kusvitsa vanhu behavior
So
iyi.
when you say behavior,
Saka paunoti behavior
do you
iwewe,
target what behavior is being looked at that's leading you into a particular place or direction, or is it all human behavior?
uri kutageta specific behavior here iri kutariswa nevanhu vese kana kuti behavior
I would say
yese inongoitwa
specific types
nevanhu.
of behavior are highlighted by prophecy.
Okay,
ndikuti
so
pane
when Arian
specific
put
type
time there, what do you think
yebehavior
he meant?
inohighlightwa neprofesi. Saka Arian
He
paati time
mentioned something about a,
anga achirevei
dispensational.
ataura nezvezvinhu zviri
So
dispensational.
it's not that I disagreed with him,
Saka handisi kureva kuti
Okay.
handisi
but
kutenderana
I was
naye,
bringing out the aspect of direction, that it's coming from somewhere and leading somewhere.
asi ndachiunzwawo pfungwa yedirection kuti zviri kubva pane imwe nzvimbo zvichitisvitsa
Okay,
pane
so
imwe
like
nzvimbo.
a standard definition of prophecy,
Saka standard definition yeprofesi
which is what?
inova yekuti kudii?
I saw that prophecy was
A figurative delineation. of
figurative delineation of events.
Yeah.
Kuti profesi ifigurative delineation yemaevents.
So that's the direction that you're leading
events.
into.
Yes.
Saka ndo direction yauri kuti
And you have
iendesa kwairi.
specific issues in that delineation.
Pane
Yes.
maissues ari specific here mudelineation iyoyo. Hongu.
So I wasn't limiting it to
Okay.
a single dispensation, is what I'm saying.
Ndasingailimiti ku1
And
dispensation.
Arian was?
Arian anga ari kudaro here.
Not necessarily. What I'm saying is I wasn't focusing on the dispensation part, because you could think of a specific dispensation.
Ini
And I
ndasingafocus
was
on
saying
dispensation
It's
notogona
all one story at the
kutarisa
end. All
one
these
specific
dispensations are a single
dispensation.
story at the end.
Madispensation aya ese istori imwe chete.
I'm just trying to speak on in his defense. So all of those stories,
Saka
is it
mastories
always the
ese aya
same morality?
inenge ingori morality imwe chete here.
I think the
Pese.
underlying principles are the same, yes.
Ndofunga kuti maprinciples ari
Yeah,
pazasi
I didn't mean the
pazvo ese
underlying principle,
akafanana.
obviously.
Hongu. And handisingarevi hangu
The
underlying
examples.
principle.
No, the
Ndokureva
examples are not different.
maexamples.
Okay. So I think that's what
Maexamples
he meant.
haazi. Saka
And
ndofunga
I
kuti
agreed
ndozvaanga
with
Okay.
achireva.
Mm. I
Ndatenderana
just was
naye.
emphasizing the direction part. That's all.
Inda achingoemphasize part yedirection.
The example in this time,
Saka example munguva iyi
whatever the example is,
zvisinei nekuti
you're
example
okay with
ipi.
me drawing it that way? So before that, there was another
Before
example,
izvi papaine mumwe
you're saying
muenzaniso.
that,
Yes.
Ndozvauri kutaura
in a different time,
neimwe nguva yakasiyana.
and there's a third example, which is the first one.
And then poita imwe example.
Is that what you're saying? Yes?
Yes.
Ndozvauri kutaura here izvi.
So, who said that? Oh, okay. So, do you agree with that, Ariane?
Saka ari
So
ndinotenderana
these
nazvo
three
here.
examples, are they connected?
Saka mienzaniso mitatu iyi
More than just they're all moral
yakabatana
examples.
here. Zvisiri
Do they
zvekungoti
have to be
mamoral
connected
examples ega.
with a theme of some kind
Anofana kuconnectwa
in
here
order to make
netheme
it a path that you can walk along or follow?
kuti aite path yaunogona
I
kuteverera
think so.
And
uchifamba.
if you can't find a connection,
Ndofunga kana usingagoni
are you
kuwana
missing something or are you
connection
doing something wrong?
une chauri kumisa here
I'll reframe my
kana kuti
question.
uri kuita chinhu chiri wrong.
Was it-
Ndichadzokorodza question iyi.
So I'll reframe it. Are you required to see a connection between the examples?
Unorequire kuona connection here pakati pemaexamples.
Otherwise, it's not a line.
Otherwise haizi
Otherwise, it's not
line.
prophecy.
Otherwise haizi prophecy.
Not necessarily.
Okay, so they don't have to be connected.
Zvinei nekuti akakonectwa.
No, not directly. No.
Okay. I thought you said that they did a minute ago. That's why I was clarifying.
Okay, when you
And,
said don't talk about the principles, then I said, okay, if it's about specific examples, they don't necessarily have to be connected. Directly.
Okay. But a principle then would be you just have to be good, good, good.
Principle then inongozoti
Wouldn't it?
unofana kunge wakangonaka wakanaka.
Golden rule, golden rule, golden rule.
Golden rule pese.
I thought that's what you meant.
Ndafunga
Or
kuti
no, actually, I thought you meant
ndozvaunga
something more specific than that, not just the
ndafunga
golden
kuti
rule.
ukureva chinhu chiri more specific than
Okay, yeah,
ichocho
because
kwete
what I
golden
was
rule chete.
what I was saying really is
Inini
human behavior went
zvandachitaura
wrong
ndezvekuti human behavior yakaenda
at
kuri
some
wrong
point. or
pane
it's
imwe
too
nguva.
far. And then humanity is on a journey
And
in,
vanhu vari parwendo
in addressing that bad behavior,
mukuadresa behavior
or let
iyoyo
me say incorrect behavior.
iri incorrect.
So there's different examples of that process, but it is a process.
Saka pane mienzanzo yakasiyana yeprocess iyoyo, asi iprocess.
To connect them in any way besides the golden rule?
Tinogona kudzikonekta here neimwe nzira isiri yegolden rule.
What was in your mind when you said they're connected?
Paunga uchiti zvakabatana, chii chachiri mupfungwa mako?
So some things, for example, couldn't be addressed as explicitly in a prior time or prior example.
Zvimwe zvinhu zvaisazogona kutaurwa zviri pachena muexample inenge yamboitika kumashure.
And then it's addressed more clearly and more specifically in later examples.
Zvinozoadreswa zviri more clear, zviri more specific mumaexample ari kumberi.
That's what was on
Whatever
my
that thing is, what is the common theme?
Ndozvanga zviri mupfungwa
Because
mangu.
you said it's the same problem, but it doesn't
Yes.
get addressed. So what is that problem?
Yes,
Ichocho
the golden
theme
rule.
iri common
Okay, so
ndeipi?
you want to make it as simple as that, basically.
Yes.
Alright,
Okay.
saka uda uiti golden rule. Zviri simple kudaro, alright.
I thought you were going to say something like patriarchy is the
Ndafunga kuti
theme running through all of that, and you can give different examples in different dispensations of a common problem.
ndafunga kuti uchati patriarchy ndo iri kumhanya through maexamples ese aya. Tozopa maexample akasiyana siyana
Okay, but I
eproblem
misunderstood.
yakangofanana iyoyo, asi ndatadza kunzwisisa.
Sorry.
I wanted to ask if the time above, if it was also time 1, time 2, time 3,
Ndachida kutovhunza kuti time iyi yamanyora
or it was
time 1,
just
time 2, time
time
3,
all the same in
kana kuti
every
ingori
dispensation,
time yakangofanana pese
No,
madispensation
it
or
says
ese.
is not a dispensation?
it's time 1, time 2, time 3.
Oh, okay.
Time 1, time 2,
Thank you.
time 3.
Rose, you had your hand up?
So I think basically I wanted to say at one perspective, they are connected. You can look at it from like the whole story of redemption, or from Eden to Eden. You can see that all those dispensations, they are connected.
Unogona kuona kuti zvakabatana uchisasa neimwe perspective uchiona kubva kuEden kusvika kuEden.
But then you can see that there is also a specific element for each dispensation.
Unozoona kuti pane element iri specific padispensation imwe neimwe.
Okay, I don't think you said anything new yet.
Ndisati ndanzwa
I don't
wataura
think you
chinhu
said anything
chitsva.
new yet.
Handifungi kuti wataura
Okay,
chinhu
carry on.
chitsva.
So basically, that was my comment when I raised my hand. You had not made the comment of patriarchy throughout.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ndo yanga iri point yangu pandasimudza ruoko mamusati maita comment yepatriarchy pese apa.
I want to go back
Iri
to the
ichionekwa
person's
throughout.
question.
Todzokera kumubvunzo
Do I address
wemunhu uyu.
self-defense in a moral point of view or a prophetic point of view?
Self-defense ndinoiadresa nemoral point of view here
What's the
kana kuti
answer?
prophetic point of view. Mhinduro ndeyekuti kudii?
Prophetic or moral? We've got
Prophetic
two
here
answers.
kana moral. Tine mhinduro mbiri.
Emma.
Emma.
So you're lost. Don't worry about all of that. Just
Okay.
answer the question. If you don't agree with that, some of that work, that definition.
I don't know, that's fine. I think I would say both.
Ndofunga kuti ndoti zvese
Both.
zviri
Yeah.
zviviri.
So
Oh.
I address self-defense in a moral and a prophetic.
Saka ndinoadresa self-defense mumoral neprophetic.
Tell me the difference.
Ndiudzei musiyano.
How do you address it from a moral perspective?
Unoiadresa sei neperspective iri moral.
And then how do you address it from a prophetic one?
Uzoiadresa sei
I
prophetic
see the
one.
moral as applying to me right and wrong and my perspective on right and wrong.
Ndoona moral ichiaplaya kwandiri muono wangu wekuti zvakanaka nezvakaipa ndezvipi.
You're saying
it's-
personal.
But it's within a,
When you say you mean personal.
Pauri kuti iwewe uri kuti zviri personal.
I guess the movement, it could,
Not you.
Eh,
well,
ati
me
a
as part of the
movement.
movement,
As soon as you go to the movement, you're going to go to society.
Professor.
What's the movement as opposed to the world?
Movement
as
chi
opposed to the world.
tichioposa
No, I'm saying
neworld.
how that fits.
Self-defense from a moral point of view, I should define what that meant. You said personal,
Self-defense.
and then you said actually movement. I'm not clear what you're saying.
Okay, so
Pane point
it's
of view iri moral. Wati
the way
personal
I process right and wrong.
but
sorry.
prophetic. Nzira yandinoprocessa zvinhu zviri zvakanaka nezvakaipa.
It's the way I process the right and wrong of that issue within
In-
the prophetic framework that I'm in, within my
Inzira
dispensation.
I asked you,
yandinoprocessa zvakanaka nezvakaipa mu dispensation randiri.
that's the prophetic bit. I asked for the moral bit
Ndo prophetic ndabvunza zviri
because you separated
moral
them.
nekuti wazviseparate.
You separated them. So I asked you, give me a defense for this ideology from a moral point of view. You just gave me a
Wazviseparate
prophetic one.
ndikati ndipe
So
defense
maybe I'm just
yemoral point of view. Wangondipa iri prophetic.
I think the moral aspect for me is how that impacts my behavior.
Ndofunga moral aspect inyaya
Is
yekuti
my you
zvinoibata sei
Yeah.
behavior yangu.
personal?
My ndiwe here,
So
personal
it's just
here.
about you.
Saka
No,
tingotaura
that's why I said it's
nezvako iwewe.
both. Oh, the moral part is just
Kwete
about me.
ndosaka
Yeah.
ndati both. Part iri moral
Okay.
ndo iri yangu inini.
I'm confusing you or you're confusing yourself?
Because I said it's both. I'm trying to explain both at the same
I think
time.
one at a time.
Okay, okay. So
So you said self-defense from a moral perspective is just about you.
Saka wati self defense kana tichitaisa moral zviri moral iri kungotaura nezvako.
So now explain self-defense from a prophetic point of view.
Tichitsanangura self defense tichitarisa nepoint of view iri prophetic.
it's looking at the context of your dispensation and how it fits with your within that context, that issue, that example in your time.
Tarisa context yedispensation yako uona kuti zvinofita sei neexample
Are you
yako
allowed to
munguva yako.
buck the trend? Buck the trend means go against the prophetic standard.
Unobvumidzwa here
No.
kuenda zviri against standard iri
Then you
prophetic.
don't have a moral perspective.
Saka une usina moral perspective.
So it's
Do you
just
see that you
prophetic
don't have one if you've just said no?
Kana ukati kwete unozviona here kuti une usina.
because we're not allowed to make our own decision outside of that.
Nekuti hatibvumidzi kuita madecisions edu ari kunze
You're
kweizvozvo.
asking that.
That's what you said, yes.
Ndo zvawataura hongu.
You said moral, I can do what I want, me, myself, I.
Wati moral ndogona kuita zvandoda ini
Prophetic
pachezvangu.
is a dispensational issue.
Prophetic inyaya iri
I
dispensational.
can't resist the prophetic,
Handigoni
issue.
kuramba nyaya iri prophetic.
so you have no personal choice.
Saka
No.
hauna personal
So you have
choice.
no moral framework,
Saka hauna moral framework.
according to your definition.
Maererano
Because you
nedefinition
define
yako.
morality as your personal choice,
Nekuti wataura morality uchidefina sei personal
which you then
choice
said you
yako.
don't even have.
Yawati iwe hautomborina.
It's dictated by the prophetic.
Inodictatwa
Dictators
nezviri
don't give you a
prophetic.
choice, so you don't have a moral choice. There's no morality now.
Prophetic haikupi choice saka hautomborina choice.
So
Pasina
let her
morality.
translate. Go ahead. I'm only
Yes.
feeding you back what you're saying to me. I'm not adding or taking away.
Ndiri kungotaura zvawanditaurira iwewe. Handisi kuwedzera kana kubvisa.
Okay. I agree.
Alright.
Yeah.
Ndatenderana hongu.
The prophetic position dictates your right and wrong, your what you think as right and wrong.
So
Prophetic position inodictator
Shapes.
zvaunofunga kuti zviri right kana kuti zviri wrong.
so either your definition of morality is wrong or you don't have any morality.
Either definition yako yemorality iri wrong kana kuti hauna morality.
The way you define morality, you don't actually have that.
Nzira yawadefine morality hautorina.
If morality is about choice,
Kana morality
about
iri
You
behavior.
didn't
yezve
define that. You
kusarudza.
said personal choice, not corporate or dispensational choice.
Iwo
So it's
wati
like saying
personal
movement.
choice or not
Okay.
dispensational choice kana
Change
kuti
it to
corporate
movement.
choice. Saka ndakuishandira kuita movement.
You'll get the same trap. Just go
Unongowira
to the
mumambure
movement level.
akafanana
It's the
chero
same
ukaenda
trap. It's not any
palevel
different.
yemovement. Mambure akafanana hazvina
Because
kusiyana.
now you're going to say the world can behave differently to the movement.
Nekuti unogona kuti nyika inogona kubehave zvakasiyana kubva
Two
kumovement.
different standards.
Mastandards maviri akasiyana.
Why?
Nemhaka yei?
You said that. If you're asking me the logic of what you've said,
Iwe wazvitaura
Your morality is
urikundibvunza logic
determined by the
yezvawataura.
prophetic understanding.
Morality inodeterminwa neprophetic understanding.
whatever rules you apply to you, the movement, have to be the same rules that are applied to the Gentiles or the world.
Marules
can't have different
aunoapply
rules.
kwauri movement ndo anongoapply kunyika nekuma-Gentiles. Haungaiti marules akasiyana.
But that's what you've just done.
Asi ndo zvawabva
Yeah.
kungoita.
Go to Curtis.
Enda una Curtis.
I'm going to suggest the complete opposite to what Emma's.
The question is,
Oh, okay.
do I address self-defense in a moral perspective or a prophetic one?
Mubvunzo ndewokuti ndinoadresa self-defense moral
Answer that
perspective here
question.
kana kuti
At a
prophetic
moral.
one.
Sorry?
At a moral perspective.
Not a prophetic one.
Inini ndinoiadresa pamoral
And what's your
perspective
definition of morality?
kwete prophetic one here. Saka definition yako
What's right and wrong at a
morality
personal
chi?
level.
Zvakanaka
Right and wrong
nezvakaipa.
behavior at a personal level.
Behavior
So,
yakanaka
is there
neyakaipa palevel
A
iri personal.
prophetic perspective of self-defense,
Saka pane prophetic perspective
or
here
it's only a moral
yes-self-defense.
subject?
There is a
Kana kuti ingori
prophetic
subject iri
perspective.
moral
However,
chete.
I don't think that's what you were addressing.
Iripo prophetic asi handifungi kuti ndo zvamama
No, the
muchiadress.
questioner is asking that.
But munhu ari kuvhunza ari kuvhunza
Are
izvozvo.
they asking, is there prophetic, or are they asking what you were addressing?
Ari kuvhunza kuti zviri prophetic here kana kuti ari kuvhunza zvamama muchiadresa.
They gave some preamble, like I read out to you,
Vapa zvavataura before ndazviverenga
and then they asked the question.
ndobva vasovhunza mubvunzo.
When they talk about self-defense,
Vanotaura
to
nezve-self-defense,
defend that right,
defender right iyoyo.
do they address it from a moral perspective
Vanoiadresa kubva paperspective iri
or
moral
a
here
prophetic one?
kana kuti iri
Okay, having
prophetic.
understood the question, it's both.
Ndanzwisisa mubvunzo.
So tell me what each one
Ndezvese.
is.
Saka chindiudza kuti chimwe nechimwe
Defend
gonna
it
use-
morally and then defend it prophetically.
zvidefende zviri moral wozvozvidefenda zviri prophetic.
Which
At a moral level would be
Palevel iri moral
your right to defend yourself as an individual. And I'm just
iright
going
yako
to,
yekuzvidefenda iwewe semunhu uri individual.
and then,
right there, that's exactly what Emma said.
yes.
Ndo zvataurwa naEmma exactly.
And then at a prophetic level,
Palevel iri prophetic
it's going to be about as an institution
ndezve
or
institution
group or society.
kana boka kana society.
That's exactly what Emma said.
Ndo zvakangofanana zvataurwa
And now the
naEmma.
difference is,
Musiyano ndewekuti
can an individual's morality differ
morality yemunhu ari
from the
individual
prophetic?
inogona kusiyana here neiri prophetic.
I'll say, yeah.
Ndinoti hongu.
So what's the purpose of the prophetic
Saka basa reprophetic
if
nderei
it doesn't dictate or control you?
kana isingadictate kana kucontrol.
Because it's talking about political issues as
Yeah.
groups.
Nekuti iri kutaura nezvema-issues ari political
But then once
sema-groups.
you zoom down into your individual,
Asi paunozozuma
It's not a
kupinda
direct
kuindividual yako,
relationship.
haisi relationship
And
iri
I'm going to
direct.
give an example
Ndichapa muenzaniso
of a political issue.
wenyaya iri political.
So an example that I got from someone in this room.
Muenzaniso wandaona kubva mune munhu ari murumu inoi.
Voting. It's a political
Kuvhota
issue.
inyaya iri political.
But then does that mean that you as an individual have to
Asi
vote?
zvinoreva here kuti iwe
Is it a
semunhu ari
moral issue
individual
for you as an
unofanira
individual?
kuvhota? Imoral issue here kwauri uri individual.
What's the movement position on that?
Position yemovement pamusoro pazvo
You
ndeipi?
as an individual, do what you want.
Iwe semunhu unoita zvaunoda.
I don't think it is.
Handifungi kuti ndiyo.
I think the movement is, do you want to call it the movement position, says on a certain election, it's
Movement
your
position
moral
ndeyekuti
duty or your prophetic duty to vote. You're required to.
inototi pane mamwe
You
maelection
don't have a choice.
unotorikwayiwa kuvhota, hauna sarudzo. Imoral duty yako.
On unimportant rubbish elections, you don't have to,
Pane ma-elections ari rubbish haumanikidziri kuvhota.
because those ones aren't prophetic issues.
Nekuti iwayo haasi
Did you say
ma-prophetic
on?
Then
issues.
on those rubbish ones, low ones, but on the ones that are,
Pane ari prophetic
you're required to.
unotosungirwa kuti uvhote.
So come November, every single American member is required to register and to vote.
Tasvika November, muamerican wese anorikwayiwa kuti aregister avhote.
It's their prophetic moral duty to do it.
Ndiyo
Whichever word you want to use, it's their,
prophetic moral
they don't have a
duty
choice in that.
yekuzviita, havatorina sarudzo mazviri.
You disagree?
Unorambirana nazvo
Obviously,
here?
yes.
That more. I need to think about that more.
Think about it now if you want.
Sure, while someone else has the mic.
Okay.
Ndombofunga
So at the
nezvazvo.
moment, you disagree with that.
Saka panguva ino unorambirana
I'm
nazvo.
ambivalent.
Okay. In the time of crisis,
Munguva yecrisis.
This is my preparation for the crisis.
Okay.
Ndokugadzirira kwangu kwecrisis.
I don't feel we've answered this person's question clearly, if I can speak on their behalf. We're almost there, but doesn't feel
Handidzi unge tapedza
looking for a
kupindura
simple, neat answer
mhinduro
that feels
yemunhu uyu.
arrogant.
I think it is prophetic.
Ndofunga kuti zviri prophetic.
As in our dispensation, we have talked about equality, women's rights.
Mudispensation yedu takataura
Subjects as
nezveequality,
abuse
human
and
rights,
harassment has
abuse,
become prophetic.
harassment, zvava prophetic.
Subjects as harassment and abuse have become part of the prophetic message.
Masubjects akaita kunge equality neabuse ava ma-prophetic messages.
And self-defense is part of that in regard to the women that
Maererano nemadzimai,
I think we are required to understand at this point in time
takusungirwa kunzwisisa panguva ino
that self-defense is required.
kuti self-defense iri required.
That every human being has the right for self-defense.
Munhu wese ane right ye-self-defense.
When you say right, that means you have an option.
Paunoti right,
Is that right?
zvinoreva kuti une option.
That's
What does
Ndizvo
right
zvo.
mean?
Right inorevei?
You just have it.
Mutongori nayo.
Okay. So do you have an obligation?
Yeah.
Because obligation is a lot more stringent test than right.
Okay. Yeah.
Obligation is stringent test than my rights.
So as soon as you make it an obligation, you don't have a choice.
Mm-hmm.
Which is a
Haunongoine
much higher
obligation,
bar to
hauna
pass.
choice.
That's what I mean.
I-higher bar to pass.
And I don't know if people agree with that.
Handisi kuti vanhu
But I'm
vanobvumirana
just
nazvo.
clarifying that's what you're
Yeah.
saying.
Yeah.
So I'm not trying to put my words in it, but I want to try to understand what you're saying
Ndoda kuzama kunzwisisa zvauri kutaura.
because you're the first of a few people who have said it's actually your defense for your argument for self-defense has to be a prophetic defense, prophetic view,
Nekuti
not a
ndiyo
moral one.
wati argument yako ye-self defense inofanira kunge iri prophetic kwete moral one.
Based upon your definition that you gave,
Maererano nedefinition yako
because tucked right
yawapa
in it is morality
nekuti
in a particular
yakatakwa
context.
mazviri immorality iri
I think
mucontext
that's what
iri
you said,
particular.
or
Ndofunga
what
kuti
you
ndo
mean.
zvawataura kana ndo
So I don't
zvaunoreva.
agree with that or not.
Handisi kuti munhu wese anotenderana nazvo here kana kwete.
Blessing, then Tamina. Anyone else?
Blessing
Anyone
Tamina,
on this side?
then umwe munhu padivi iro.
Okay. In answer to that question, I wanted to say I don't think there's a difference between the moral and the prophetic.
Ndachida kuti handofunga kuti hapana musiyano pakati pezviri moral
I
nezviri
think they're the same.
prophetic. Ndofunga kuti zvakafanana.
Okay, so
Or you can
he said that from his perspective,
Ati from
he doesn't
zvaanoona
see that morality and prophecy are different.
haoni kuti morality neprophecy zvakasiyana.
So I'll let him finish and then I'll comment.
Ndichamutapedzise then ndozokomenta.
So the issue of self-defense is a moral issue.
Nyaya
It's a
ye-self
moral
defense inyaya iri moral.
And we are discussing it in a specific context.
Tiri kuitaura mucontext iri specific.
So what I'm saying is the moral and prophetic divide is like it muddies the waters, if I can say it that way.
Saka tikapatsanura pane zviri moral nezviri
It muddies
prophetic
the water. It
Makes it confusing.
yeah, it confuses the
zvinoita
issue.
kuti zviconfuse nyaya yacho.
Because we are discussing a moral issue.
Nekuti tiri kutaura nyaya iri moral.
So that's my response.
Okay.
Ndo
You're
response
doing
yangu.
so well until you said muddy.
It's a money.
Wanga uchigona pesa apa
Oh, muddy.
pakusvikira
Oh.
You were doing so
pawazoti
well before
muddy.
you used muddy the water, make it confusing.
Wanga uchita zvakanaka pesa apa pakusvikira pawazoti zvinhu zviri confusing.
Because your definition should bring clarity, not confusion.
Nekuti definition yako inofanira kujekesa kwete kuunza confusion.
So you started off well
Watanga zvakanaka
because you were simple.
nekuti wanga uri
You
simple.
said they're the same thing.
Zvinhu wati zvakafanana.
What you didn't say, which I'm going to ask you,
Zvausina kuzotaura zvandichakubvunza.
if you start splitting them,
Paunotanga kuzvipatsanura.
what ends up happening when you
Chichi.
start separating morality and prophecy as two separate things?
Chii chinotanga kuitika paunotanga kupatsanura morality neprophecy sezvinhu tu
I
zvakasiyana.
think you come up with two standards, like two types of behaviors.
Ndofunga kuti unova nemabehavior
And to
maviri.
me, that would be muddy.
Kwandiri ndo zvinenge zviri muddy.
That's what I meant.
Ah,
When I
good.
was- yes, I was saying
Okay.
they shouldn't be separated.
Right. If you
That's what I-
separate them, it makes it muddy or confusing.
Ukazvipatsanura zvinobva zvava muddy kana kuti zvinoconfusa.
This has been an issue in the movement for a long time. Keep the microphone.
Izvi zvazviri mumovement kwenguva
And
yakareba.
it's easy to fall into the trap.
Zviri nyore kudonhera
the snare,
mumambure. Mambure.
which I'm more than happy to give you, to
Ndinopa
lead you into the trap. Because that's what everybody else will do.
munhu wese
especially the media.
anokuendesa mutrap.
All of it
Kunyanyanyanya
will entrap you.
media inokuisa
So we
mutrap
have to
iyoyo.
be aloof or above that.
Saka tofanira kunge tiri pamusoro
So the last
peizvozvo.
question,
Saka ndichabvunza mubvunzo.
what are you defining as morality?
Chauri kudefaina
say
semorality chii?
Either the same thing,
Paunoti either
where you
zvinhu
described it.
zvakafanana.
What would you define morality as? Because it got defined in a specific way earlier.
Wamboidefaina zviri specific earlier. Saka chii chauri
So I
kudefaina
know you
semorality?
disagree with that definition.
Ndoziva kuti haubvunzani nedefinition
Tell me
iyoyo.
how you define morality.
Chindiudza kuti unoidefaina sei morality.
So I don't have the words to define it.
Handina mavara ekuidefaina.
Actually, I don't know how to define it, to
Okay.
be honest.
Tamina, I will go to Tamina, then Arian. Do you want to speak first to do that? Arian first, then Tamina. Sorry.
Arian, then Tamina.
Only because he wants to respond to a point that he's already.
No, I actually wanted to ask then, because we've defined prophecy now as being morality with time. So
Tadefine prophecy kuti immorality ine
we're
nguva.
not splitting them, right?
Saka hatisi kuzvisplita ndizvo.
From the very beginning,
Kubva pekutanga
you join them together,
wazvibatanidza.
and I think Blessing is doubling down on that.
Blessing ari kuwedzera pamusoro
I get that,
pezvozvo.
yeah.
Okay. And you?
Okay. So I thought he disagreed with
No,
this definition.
he's
Oh,
agreeing with that premise.
Ari kubvumirana neizvozvo.
Yeah, he agrees.
Izvozvo.
okay.
Hongu ari
He says the
kutenderana.
problem is when you separate them,
Ati dambudziko ukazvipatsanura
however you're going to separate them,
zvisinei nekuti
you end up getting
wazvipatsanura sei,
into a model
unopedzisira wapinda mumodel
that causes you problems.
inokupa matambudziko.
That's what he said.
Ndo zvaataura.
We're yet to hear Curtis's defense
Tichada kuzonzwa kuti defense yaKurtis
why it doesn't,
yekuti sei
which
zvisinga
is he may or may not get to an answer. I'm not trying to pin him down, but
anogona
Curtis says
kutipa
you
mhinduro kana
can
kwete.
separate them because they're different models or issues.
Kurtis ati unogona kuseparata nekuti mamodels akasiyana.
And when Emma did exactly the same thing that Curtis did,
Emma paaita zvinhu zvakafanana
she
nezvaitaurwa
capitulated
naKurtis
under my pressure,
azodonhera
and
mupressure
Curtis
yangu.
didn't.
Kurtis haana.
Curtis just said, give me more time to think.
Kurtis angoti ndipewo nguva yekufunga.
So that's just a summary of their position compared to the two of yours. Tamina?
Saka ingori
Oh, go
summary
ahead.
yeposition yavo compared
morality?
kune
Yep.
yako.
I thought
Tichitaura
about
nezvemorality.
What's my question?
Mubvunzo wangu
the definition of
ndewekuti
morality.
Okay.
definition yemorality.
I had to think of the relationship from human to human, so between humans and also to human to God.
Ndiri kufunga ukama huri pakati pevanhu nevanhu uye ukama huri pakati pavanhu naMwari.
How do you behave towards each
Unobehave
other and
sei
towards God?
towards vanhu
Oh, that's the
uye towards
definition.
Mwari.
Yeah,
Ndo
that's-
definition.
Okay.
Hongu.
I have two answers to both of your questions.
Ndine mhinduro
What's the
mbiri
question?
kumibvunzo yenyu.
One
Yes.
was about
Mubvunzo
the
ndewekuti kudii.
questioner's question about if it's prophecy and morality, and the other one.
Answer
where
that.
you said-
Okay, so answer that one first. Is it prophecy or morality?
Umwe wacho wanga uri wekuti prophecy kana kuti morality.
How I understood it was that it's prophecy
Ndakanzwisisa kuti prophecy
because prophecy will allow you to use methodology.
nekuti prophecy inokutendedza kuti ushandise methodology.
When we use prophecy, methodology guides us.
Patinoshandisa prophecy methodology inotitungamirira.
And this actually the understanding we're gaining from that will have an effect
Louder.
on morality.
Kunzwisisa kwatinogaina kubva paizvozvo kunozova neeffect
So your
pamorality
argument is
yedu.
it has to be prophecy
Saka argument yako ndeyekuti inofanira kunge iri
because
prophecy
prophecy uses or incorporates methodology.
nekuti prophecy inobatanidza methodology.
That's your argument.
Ndo argument yako here.
Okay, so morality,
Saka
doesn't
morality
morality require methodology?
hainei nemethodology here.
I often find it subject to culture.
That's the methodology.
Ndinowanzoiona
Culture is
yakasungirirwa
methodology?
neculture. Culture imethodology.
Culture is methodology.
Culture imethodology.
Sure.
Hongu.
You sound surprised.
Uri
I am.
kushamisika.
What do you think culture is?
Unofunga kuti culture
Emotionalism or?
my emotions here.
Traditions.
My
habits.
traditions, her habits.
So you're saying morality is emotionalism then?
Saka uri kuti morality emotionalism ndizvo.
That was actually my answer to your second question.
Ndoyanga iri answer yangu kumubvunzo wenyu
When
wechipiri.
you mentioned the media and the problem we're getting into,
Pamataura media nedambudziko ratiri kupinda mariri.
it's because we put emotions
Inyaya yekuti
in front
tinoisa
of methodology
ma-emotions
or above
pamberi
methodology.
pemethodology kana kuti pamusoro
Okay, so your argument
pemethodology.
is prophecy has methodology and
Saka
morality has no methodology.
argument yako ndeyekuti prophecy ine methodology, morality haina.
Okay.
Right.
Ignatius, then Curtis. You're going to respond?
Ignatius, then Curtis.
Your point, that's what I meant, yeah.
Okay, so if I had the question well,
Kana ndanzwa mubvunzo zvakanaka.
is the do I address self-defense at a moral perspective or prophetic perspective or prophetic
Self-defense
approach?
approach ane prophetic here kana kuti ne-moral approach.
I would say prophetic approach.
Indinoti prophetic approach.
Because there's a point in time
Nekuti pane
history
nguva munhoroondo
where the church, every church member was not allowed to defend
member yese
themselves,
yechechi yaisabvumidzwa kuzvidefenda.
especially if they are
Nyanye
attacked by somebody that is not from inside, from the church.
kana vaatakwa nemunhu asiri wemukati mechechi.
And that is the end of ancient Israel.
Kumagumo e-ancient Israel.
When Jesus came
Jesu paakauya
and is explaining the nature of his kingdom to
paanenge achitsanangura
the
nature
Jews,
yeumambo
to the
hwake
church.
kumaJudha, kukereke.
So in Matthew chapter 5 to
Kuna
chapter 7.
Don't quote verses to me.
Yes.
Matthew
Yes.
5 verse 7.
So he
Musati
tells them
mavhesi.
that when somebody attacks you, pray
Anovaudza
for them,
kuti kana munhu akakuataka unomunamatira,
referring to the Romans.
achireva vaRoma.
So it was not necessary for them to defend themselves against the Romans.
Saka zvava zvisiri necessary kuzvidzivirira kubva
According to
kuvaRoma,
my understanding at least.
maererano nekunzwisisa kwangu at least.
But in our time,
Asi munguva yedu,
the end of modern Israel,
kuguma kweIsrael iri modern,
the message is equality.
message ndeyekuenzana.
So to demonstrate that,
Saka kuzviratidzira,
you are supposed to defend yourself.
unosungirwa kuti uzvidefend.
And the external events are testifying to such as well.
Zviitiko zvekunze zviri kutopupurawo kune zvinhu
Since according
izvozvo.
to Daniel chapter 2,
Since maererano naDaniel chapter 2,
the external events informs how the church is supposed to behave internally.
ma-external events anotiudza kuti kereke inofanira kunge ichibehave
So
sei
that's my
zviri
understanding.
internal. Ndokunzwisisa
Okay.
kwangu. All right.
Curtis.
Curtis.
I'm going to try and use a model that we've built.
Ndichazama kushandisa
On-
model
What's the question you're
yatinovaka.
addressing?
Sure.
Uri kuadresa
the-
question ipi?
How we can distinguish between morality and prophecy.
Kuti tinopatsanura sei pakati
How they can be
pemorality
separated.
neprofesi. Kuti zvinogona kuseparatwa sei.
Define morality.
Define morality.
You at a personal level.
Individual rights.
Individual.
Ma-individual rights. Iwe
Define
uri personal.
prophecy.
Define a prophecy.
Systemic, societal.
Zviri systemic, zviri
Corporate
societal.
rights.
Corporate.
Ma-corporate rights.
So you're defining morality as personal rights, prophecy as corporate rights.
Sure.
Saka kudefine morality as personal rights, prophecy as
And then
corporate
I'll
rights.
go back to our statement, the statement that we use, the personal is political,
Ndodzokera kustatement ratinoshandisa rekuti zviri personal, zviri
and
political.
how your personal life influences the corporate
Uye personal life yako inoinfluenza sei zviri corporate.
and vice versa.
Uye zviri
So we
vice versa.
recognize that, but at the same time, we recognize that individual discrimination that
Saka
happens,
tinozviona izvi,
you and
but tinoonawo kuti
isn't the same
ma-individual
as systemic
discrimination
discrimination.
aunoona haana kufanana
The
ne-systemic
fact that it's
discrimination.
at scale, it affects society.
Nyaya yekuti zviri pascale hombe inoaffectawo society.
And so all I'm pointing out is that we recognize that there's this distinction
Zvandiri kutaura ndezvekuti tinoona kuti pane
between these
mupatsano
two
uyu
different types of behavior.
pakati pemabehavhior maviri aya.
And so I'm applying that same thought to this
Saka ndikuaplaya pfungwa iyoyo kune izvi,
while also admitting that there's an interplay between the two.
apo ndichiadmitawo zvakare kuti pane kurukana kuripo pakati pezviviri izvi.
Okay, so you notice the glazed look. Rose, you lost me, sorry.
Rose, ini wandirasa, sorry.
I would pursue it, but I want to try to get other people. Sorry. Go ahead.
Okay, so I want to take us a bit back in history.
What are you trying to answer, Rose?
The issue of morality, prophecy, are they separate or?
Nyaya yekuti morality neprophecy zvakapatsana
What's your
here.
position?
Position yako
So
ndeyekuti
I'm saying you should not separate them.
ndiri kuti hatifani kuzvipatsanura.
And you're going to give us a defense of that.
Uchatipa defense yazvo here?
Yes, an example from the past.
Hongu, muenzaniso kubva
Which is a
kumashure.
defense.
Inova
Yes.
defense.
Go ahead.
So there was a time when we used to have arguments in the movement.
Pane nguva yataimbwa nemaarguments movement.
That is the gospel prophetic, or is it about love or morality?
Kuti gospel riri prophetic here kana kuti ndere rudo remorality.
And in the past, we noticed that whenever we take that approach,
Pese
it's going to be
pataitora.
difficult.
Kare taiona kuti pese pataitora approach iyoyo zvaizotigoshera.
Difficult or wrong?
Wrong.
Goshera kana kuti zviri wrong.
Because people used to argue that is the gospel prophetic or it's about love, or which is morals, I guess.
Nekuti vanhu vaiita argument yekuti gospel ndere prophecy kana kuti ndere love.
You tell me the
kana kuti
answer.
moral. Ndipe mhinduro.
And in the past, we realized that we should not separate.
Kare takaona
We should
kuti
not try to say it's prophetic or it's moral. We should not separate.
I got that. So give me the answer.
kare takaona kuti hatifani kuzvipatsanura. Saka achindipa mhinduro.
The gospel is?
Is
Saka
both prophetic and
gospel
morality.
riri zvese prophecy nemorality.
That's what you say?
Yes.
Ndozvawataura.
So in
Hongu.
this situation,
Saka mu situation iyi
where you're asking in regards to self-defense, should I look at it and say it's prophetic or it's an issue of morality?
pamuri kutaura nenyaya yekuzvidzivirira ndofanira kuitarisa iri prophetic kana kuti iri moral here?
I think to try and separate the two, it becomes error as well.
Ndofunga kuti kuzama kuzvipatsanura zvinozovawo error
Yeah, to
zvakare.
try and say it
I got
becomes
error.
wrong. Yeah.
So can you just clarify, is Curtis teaching error?
Saka clarify
That's what he just did.
error here nekuti ndozvaabva kuita.
Yes?
Hongu.
Elder, I don't want to get into problems.
Just clarify, is teaching error?
Chingojekesa ari
Yeah.
kudzidzisa
Okay.
error here? Hongu.
So because the both elements of prophecy and morality are there in the issue of self-defense. You cannot separate them.
Nekuti ma-elements e-prophecy ne-morality arimo mu-self-defense. Hatigoni kuma-separate.
Because you're saying I'll defend women's women's rights
Nekuti uri kuti pamwe ndichadefenda ma-rights emadzimai
according to the prophetic message.
maererano nemessage ye-prophecy.
So treating a woman wrongly is bad.
Saka kutrita mudzimai zviri
In
wrong
context of prophecy, I don't
kwakashata
know how you can separate the
mucontext
two.
ye-prophecy.
I'm
Handisi
bad at this.
tozvipatsanura sei.
Pascal,
Handizvigoni izvi. Alright.
just an
Pascal.
observation.
Ingoriwo observation.
I'd be weary to say that either Emma teach error because they're They've both got a reputation of being right.
Inini handimhanyiri kuti Emma
Pascal.
naCurtis vari kudzidzisa era nokuti vese vane
Juste pour,
reputation yekuve
pour
right.
c'est juste pour expliquer ma pensée. Euh,
Mhm.
Quand on regarde les deux définitions qui sont mises au tableau
It's got to go
concernant-
right to your lips, sorry.
Quand on regarde les deux définitions moralité et prophétie au tableau,
Both definitions of morality and prophecy on the board.
je dirais effectivement
Madefinition
translate
ese ari maviri
Je
emorality
dirais effectivement
neprofesy
que ce soit l'évangile
Arpa
ou que
board.
ce soit le sujet de la légitime défense,
Say whether we're talking about the gospel of the topic of self-defense,
ce sont des sujets,
hazvisinei
enfin,
nokuti
ça
totaura
doit se
zveevhangeri kana
traiter
kuti
de
nyaya
manière prophétique,
yeself-defense.
puisque la
those
moralité,
topics should be talked about prophetically.
parce qu'on voit que dans
Matopics
la
anofanira
définition de la
kutaurwa
prophétie, la
nemaererano
moralité
neprofesi
est intégrée.
Because we can see that in the definition of prophecy, morality is in there.
nokuti
Et en fait,
tinoona
moi,
kuti mudefinition yeprofesi
je
morality
ne sais pas si
irimo.
j'ai raison, mais lorsqu'on prend la moralité seule,
I don't know if I'm right, but when we take morality by itself on its own,
handisi
c'est pas
kuti
écrit au
ndiri right
tableau,
here
mais
asi
moi, j'y vois
patinotora morality iri
la notion du
pachezvayo
littéral aussi.
it's not written on the board, but I see the idea of literal.
hazvisi paboard
C'est-à-dire
asi ndinoona
que
pfungwa yezvinhu zviri
on
literal
peut dire que la Bible est un livre moral.
Because we can say the Bible is a moral book,
Et on va
nokuti togona
prendre
kuti
les
bible
textes qui sont
ibhuku
écrits,
rimoral
and we're going to take the texts
et
written,
on va les appliquer de façon
totora
littérale,
apply them literally,
zvakanyorwa
et ça sera
tozvi
purement de la
apply zviri
moralité.
and it will
literal
be pure morality.
inobva yava
Ça,
morality
c'est
iri
mon
pure.
opinion.
That's my opinion.
Ndokufunga kwangu.
I just wanted to say that somebody said that she's bad in separating moral and prophetic.
Pane ati ari bad mukuseparata
And I thought
moral
to myself,
neprophetic.
but that's good because that's not the way it should be.
Ndikafunga kuti
I remember
zvakanaka
that
nekuti haisiriyo nzira yazvinofanira kunge zviri.
that was the error of the SDA church, that they separate both.
Ndori murangarira kuti
And
ndo
if
yaiva
we
era
we are
yeSDA
not
church
able
yekuti
to
vakaseparata.
separate them,
Kana tisingagoni kuzvipatsanura
then it is good.
then zvakanaka.
Okay.
Okay.
I think I have an answer to the question you asked me earlier.
What's the question?
Ndofunga kuti ndaane
The question
mhinduro
was,
yemubvunzo
so what is
wamabvunza.
morality then?
Okay, so you're going to define morality.
Mubvunzo wanga wari wekuti morality chi.
So I think morality is prophecy.
Ndofunga kuti morality iprofesi.
And morality is the rules of human conduct.
Morality ma-rules e-conduct
And
yevanhu.
prophecy is the rules of human conduct.
Prophecy ma-rules
You can't hear me.
e-conduct yevanhu.
Okay. I'm saying morality
Ndiri
is
kuti
the
morality
rules of human conduct.
mutemo we-conduct yevanhu.
Rules as in principles.
Ma-principles.
And prophecy is the same thing.
Prophecy ndo chiro
I'm saying it's
chakafanana.
the rules of human conduct.
Mitemo ye-human conduct.
There's no difference.
Hapana
So we've already
msiyano.
got the first one here,
Tatone
human
kutanga
behavior,
panapa. Human behavior.
right and wrong.
Zvakanaka nezvakashata.
Explain it here. Prophecy is the same thing.
Prophecy
Yes.
chinhu chakafanana.
So I'm saying the context part is just different examples. But
Okay, so we leave that.
Ye-context, ma-examples
but
akangosiyana
it's all
siyana.
rules that
Asi
are
ese
addressing human behavior.
ingori mitemo
or
iri
human conduct.
kuadresa human conduct kana kuti tiri kuadresa vanhu.
So we don't even need that.
Saka hatimbonidi
Yes, so I'm saying it's morality equal prophecy. It's the same thing.
saka morality ndiyo prophecy chinhu chakangofanana.
Okay, I'm okay with that. Unless anybody's got, 'cause I think people
Alright.
don't understand what you're talking about.
You don't
Inini
understand what I'm saying?
That one
ndiri
they do.
right nazvo.
Because people have a feel, an intuitive understanding of morality.
Okay, the reason why I'm saying that as well is Curtis said earlier
Makandi
that
kutaura
morality
izvozvo.
applies to an individual.
Curtis ati morality
And I don't
inoaplya
agree with
kumunhu.
that.
Handitenderani
Because
nazvo.
morality is a collection of rules that
Nekuti
regulate
morality
human
A
conduct.
collection of
Rules.
collection
methodology.
Yeah,
yemitemo
methodology basically.
It
ino-
wasn't.
regulator human conduct.
Okay.
Yes. Yes, so methodology addressing human conduct.
Saka methodology inoadresa conduct yevanhu.
And I'm saying it doesn't make a distinction between individual and corporate.
And ndiri kuti hazvisiyanisi pakati pe-individual necorporate.
So I would think, I know there's a model we have where we say personal and political or
Ndoziva kuti
individual
tine
and
model
systemic.
yekuti personal and political kana kuti individual and systemic.
Stop. I'll stop you there.
Okay.
You define morality to my satisfaction. Define prophecy. I don't understand your definition of prophecy.
Anaunzwisisa definition yako yeprophecy.
I'm saying it's the same thing.
Ndiri kuti zvinhu zvakafanana.
Morality is human conduct, how people behave one to another.
Morality human conduct kuti vanhu vanobehave sei pakati pavo.
Yes.
And prophecy is human behavior, how people behave one to another.
Behavior yekuti vanhu vanobehave sei pakati pavo.
Period.
Yes, and I was emphasizing the issue of the rules.
Rules.
Yes.
Emphasize ma-rules.
Because prophecy it's addressing the rules of human conduct.
Prophecy iri kuadresa ma-rules e-human conduct.
And that's what morality does.
Ndo zvinoita
So I'm
kuti
saying
morality.
it's the same thing.
Saka ndiri kuti zvinhu zvakafanana.
Okay.
And then we can bring in the issue of context because the rules are addressing your behavior in a certain context.
Nekuti ma-rules ari kuadresa behavior yako mu-certain context.
So the context would be the example.
Yes.
Saka context ndo ine iri mienzaniso.
I want to move on to a different question. I know people have some things. It's related.
Ndoda kuenda pane mumwe mubvunzo ndoziva kuti vanhu vane zvimwe zvinhu.
Another person.
Zviri related.
I am wondering if you could explain more what you meant. Because I said, I don't know when I said it. It might have been last week. The movement, this is for Shemaine. The movement is a prophetic movement. That's what I said.
Movement,
apparently.
Movement, is prophetic.
And that I try to stay away from morality issues.
So
I only deal with prophets. I don't like morality.
My issues are immorality. The
question is this. I ask this because I'm of the understanding that the Sunday law test is both prophetic and moral. The 4 and the 6.
Sunday law is both prophetic and moral. The 4 and the 6.
Shemaine, is this a prophetic movement or a moral movement?
Saka immoral movement is a prophetic movement. Shemaine.
Are we a prophetic movement or a moral movement?
Prophetic movement.
I will say we are both. We cannot
both.
associate morality to prophecy. Because equality is a moral issue, but it's coming into on the reform line. It's become also prophetic because it tests us. This is our excuse me. So, and also we can add also onto that question of time what we put on the board. I think it's Ariane who says dispensational. So, and it affects our behavior.
Affect our behavior.
So this is how I will respond. So it's both. So movement is both.
Second question, connected.
To me, okay?
It is both. Question is
because it's the same question. Apparently, I said, I don't mean that in a bad way. I said we should stay away from moral issues.
Agree
with that?
So we should not be member of the, you are not human being. We are living in a society. We are moral being also.
Member society.
So you disagree with me?
Society. Moral beings.
We are moral being, but also, so we cannot dissociate morality. So what is the question?
Could I explain? I said the movement is a prophetic movement and that we should try to stay away from moral issues.
Moral issues.
So we should be away from, stay away from equality then.
Saka toita stay away kubva
So I
kuequality
don't know.
here.
So this is how I understand it. So
So you disagree with what I said?
if you say that, I disagree
Saka
with
unorambirana
you.
nezvandataura here.
And then the person said, I asked this because I'm of the understanding that the Sunday law test is both prophetic and moral.
Munhu akati
Oui.
ndinobvunza nekuti ndonzwisisa kuti Sunday law ndeyemaissues ari prophetic uye ari moral.
Oui, equality, it's a moral issue and it's become prophetic. So I just repeat what I just said.
So you agree with that
Equality
bit?
immoral issue inozongova prophetic. Saka
Agree with
ndotenderana
that bit?
nazvo here.
So
Unotenderana
that's mean,
neizvo here?
yes.
Hongu.
And the proof for that is the 4 and the 6. You agree with
Proof
that proof?
yazvo ndeyekuti 4 ne6 unotenderana
Yes,
neproof
you
yacho
can
here?
use this proof too, yeah.
So
Hongu unogona
you're
kushandisa
telling me the
proof
4 is
iyoyo.
prophetic and the 6 is moral?
I
Kundudza
just
kuti
said we
4 iri
can use this
prophetic,
proof. I
6
don't
iri
get
moral.
into the answer in depth.
Okay. Anyone else
Pane mumwe here
disagree with me? Brian?
asingatenderani neni? Brian,
Just tell me if you disagree with me.
ndoudzawo kuti hautenderani neni here?
What am I disagreeing?
I said we're a prophetic movement and we should stay away from moral issues.
Ndakati tiri prophetic movement tofanira
No, I
kumbosiyana
disagree with you.
nemamoral issues.
Disagree?
Handitenderani
I
nemi.
disagree.
Okay.
Handitenderani.
Because I believe that the
Nekuti
question was, is this a prophetic movement?
mubvunzo wanga wari
Really?
kwekuti prophetic
I
movement
made the
here.
statement apparently.
Yeah, but
Ini
Yeah.
ndini
so that
ndakaitaura.
the question was,
I wonder if you could explain more what you meant by a statement that I said. The movement is a prophetic movement and that we should stay away from moral issues.
Mubvunzo wanga wachingovhunzwa iwoyo kuti tofanira kuita stay away from moral
That's the
issues
question.
nekuti
And
movement
then they
iri
give their
prophetic.
response
Ivo vanopawo response
because
yavo
they thought that,
nekuti vaifunga
that
kuti
the great test
great test
is both moral and prophetic.
iri moral uye iri prophetic.
4 and 6.
4 ne6.
okay, my response is, yes, we are a prophetic movement that,
Response yangu ndeyekuti hongu tiri prophetic movement
that has moral values.
ine
Simple.
mamoral values.
Okay, so we're a prophetic movement that has moral values.
Tiri prophetic movement ine mamoral values.
When you say we're a prophetic movement, what does that mean?
Pamunoti tiri prophetic movement
We're a
zvinorevei?
movement of prophecy
Tiri movement
or a movement that
prophecy
believes in prophecy?
kana kuti movement inotenda muprofesi.
Both.
Both.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Zvese.
we're created out of prophecy and we believe in it.
Saka tinogadzirwa kubva muprofesi
So we
uye
believe in our
tinotenda
own
mairi.
identity.
Saka tinobheliva maidentity
Yes.
yedu.
Okay.
Oh.
And we believe in the issues around us, which
Uye
makes us
tinotenda
moral.
maissues akatitenderedza zvinobva zvatiita moral.
And the great test
Great test
is moral and prophetic.
iri moral uye iri prophetic.
Yes.
And it's the 4 and the 6.
I4 ne6.
Yes.
Hongu.
Yes.
So the 4 is prophetic and the 6 is moral.
Saka 4 iri prophetic, 6 iri moral.
I know it's not in front of you, but if you imagine it says prophetic and moral, 4 and 6, that's juxtapositioning.
You know, to prophetic and moral 4 ne6 ndokujuxtapose.
You don't agree with that?
Hautenderani nazvo.
Okay.
Hanyatsoziva.
Anyone else?
Pane mumwe zvakare here?
Oh, Rose first and then Ignatius.
Rose, then Ignatius.
Put your hands up before you... Right. Did I say that?
Sumudzai maoko enyu. Ndakazvitaura here izvo?
Last week?
Last week.
Okay. Because Emma transcribes, that's why I want to know.
Nekuti Emma akatranscribe.
No,
Ndosaka ndada
I
kuziva.
want to just... So you picked up what this question has.
Saka makanhonga zvakabvunzwa nemubvunzo uyu.
Sorry. Sorry about that. So this question resonates with you
Saka
Yes.
kumubvunzo uyu
No,
unowirirana newe
because it sounds like what you heard too.
nokuti zvinoita sezvawakanzwawo.
no, because no, I heard it. It
Ndakazvinzwa
triggered me,
zvakanditriga
and then I think I thought about it,
ndakafunga nezvazvo.
and I told myself he's probably not saying what I at first sight you think you hear.
Ndikazviudza kuti ndofunga haasi kutaura zvandaita sendanzwa.
Like that. So I still ask, so you heard that
Saka
and you
wakazvinzwa
gave me the benefit of the doubt,
Yeah.
ukandipa benefit yedoubt.
which is
And
what the person's doing.
Ndo
yeah.
zviri kuita
Okay.
munhu.
But he's asking what did you mean?
They.
I guess.
Saka ari kubvunza kuti mairevei.
And I had my own answer to that question.
Ndandine mhinduro
Just
yangu
created my
kumubvunzo
own
uyu.
answer to the question, which was
Ndangu
okay enough.
zvipindurira mubvunzo wangu
And that's why I
amhinduro
didn't ask the question.
yanga
Okay,
iri
but you
okay
had the
enough.
same question, but you answered it yourself.
Saka wanga uine mubvunzo wakafanana
What was your answer?
ukazvipindurira.
Yeah.
Mhinduro yako yaive yekuti chii?
Minda's nice, he wouldn't do something like
we're
that.
prophetic we're a prophetic movement, and we
Tiri
should
prophetic
not
movement.
have a what we would call movement position.
A second.
Hatifani kunge tiine movement
We
position.
are a prophetic movement,
Tiri prophetic
and
movement.
we should not have a what we would call sometimes a movement position
Hatifani kunge tiine yatinombodaidza tichiti movement position
on moral issues
pama
that are
moral
not
issues
created by prophecy.
asingagadzirwi neprofesi.
So that might sound similar,
Dzinogona kunge zvakafanana
but it's very different to how this person's phrased it.
asi zvakatosiyana nezvanyorwa nemunhu uyu.
Okay, so Rose and then Ignatius. Oh, we'll go Ignatius first because he's just behind you.
Totanga naIgnatius.
Oh, you don't do it?
Oh,
I said because you're just behind him now. Yeah, I changed the
Okay, so I was taking down my notes. So I believe we're a prophetic movement,
Ndotenda kuti tiri movement yeprophetic.
and prophecy informs morals.
Prophecy inotiudza mamorals.
I'll give an example.
Ndichapa muenzaniso.
The question is, do you agree with what I said?
Mubvunzo wekuti unotendera
That you say that-
nezvandakataura here.
Yes, you said that.
So I'm not. So I said that. I'm not arguing that. My question is, do you
said
agree
it,
with my
but
position?
Not recently. You said it in the past.
Makazvitaura
In the
kare.
past, before the midnight cry message.
The
Midnight
questioner
Cry
is
message
referring to
isati
last
yauya.
week.
Munhu abvunza ari kureva
I
presentation
didn't hear
yelast
that.
week.
Okay.
I did not hear that part last week.
Handina kunzwa part iyoyo last
I'll
week.
pass it on to Rose because it's specific about last week. Arian's confirmed it, and
Toenda kuna Rose nekuti tiri kubvunza zvelast week. Zviri specific zvelast week. Ari nakonfirma.
So I want to agree with what you said last week.
Ndada kutendera nezvamakataura last week.
do you agree with that?
Unotendera neizvi.
Let me put it in, let me define it.
Okay.
Ngaindizvidefine.
So we said morality is the right or wrong behavior, right?
Saka tati morality ibehavior iri right neiri wrong.
And I want to say prophecy is right or wrong behavior, which is morality.
Da kuti prophecy ibehavior iri right kana kuti iri wrong inova morality.
But it is now connected with a dispensation and a
Yakonectwa
test.
nedispensation uye netest.
So prophecy is morals that are connected with a certain dispensation that
Saka
comes with a test.
prophecy mamorals anokonectwa nedispensation iri specific inouya netest.
So if we stick to my definition,
Tikastika definition yangu,
then we're a prophetic movement.
then tiri prophetic movement.
Because still the morality is there, but it's in context or it's in a dispensation and there's a test.
No, but morality iripo asi iri mucontext, iri mudispensation ine test.
So you just broke all the rules.
Saka wangotsemura marules ese.
Working on my definition, not your.
Kushanda
But
nedefinition
that's good.
yangu,
I
kwete
agree with
yako.
what you said.
Asi zvakanaka
Tamina.
ndotenderana nezvawataura. Tamina.
From what I remember from last week
Kune zvandorangarira last week.
is that you mentioned that it's surprising what we can get,
Makataura kuti zvinoshamisa zvatinogona kuwana,
what kind of answers we get
mhinduro dzatinogona kuwana.
when we let not emotions let us guide us, but methodology.
Patinoti methodology ngaititungamirire kwete
And I
my
think
emotions.
your statement there was made in that kind of context,
Statement yenyu yakataura mucontext yakada
that
kudaro.
we should not let morality or in that moment emotions guide us,
Tatifaitai morality kana kuti mumoment iyoyo makati my
but that we're
emotions
reminded that we're a
atiguide.
prophetic movement and we're
Asi
guided by
tirangaridzwe kuti
methodology.
tiri prophetic movement uye tinotungamirirwa nemethodology.
So you still disagree with what Blessing just said?
Saka uchiri kuti
That they're the
kurambirana
same?
nezvataurwa naBlessing.
You mean that they're
Nekuti
the same?
zvakafanana.
I can't hear you.
What Blessing said, like what he said a lot today.
The last thing he said
Zvapedzisira kutaura
was that morality
kuti morality
is based upon
is based
methodology.
upon methodology.
You just said it wasn't again.
Iwe wangoti hazvisi.
The prophecy is methodology.
Prophecy methodology.
Well, I was answering to that person
Sure.
based on what you said, not what Blessing said. So
Ndichipindura based
Okay,
nezvamataura
so let
kwete
me try to
nezvataura
answer the
naBlessing.
person because
Regai ndizame kupindura munhu
I got
uyu.
this question a couple of times.
Nekuti mubvunzo uyu ndakauwana nguva dzawanda.
This question that I've just read out,
Mubvunzo
it came in
wandaverenga
various
uyu
shapes and sizes,
unouya
but I wanted to read
nemashapes
this one out, not the other
akasiyana-siyana.
ones.
Asi ndada kuverenga uyu kwete imwe mubvunzo.
Something changed
Pane chinhu chakashanduka
when?
rini?
So something changed in 2014,
Muna 2014
which
pane
was a Sunday
chakashanduka.
law.
Yaiva Sunday law.
What changed?
Chii chakashanduka?
If you're going to do that, you got to have the mic. As opposed to,
observers.
Kuti tava
what did
vatambi
Elder Jeff call us?
opposed to ma
Students
observers.
of prophecy.
Elder Jeff vaititi ma students of prophecy.
That was his mantra. We're students of prophecy.
Ndokwaiva kutaura kwavo kuti tiri vadzidzi
We
veprophecy.
observe what's going on,
Tinotarisa tichiona zviri kuitika,
and it's not our warfare.
haisi hondo yedu.
So we have a certain level of objectivity.
Saka tine level yeobjectivity yatiinayo.
But today,
Asi
we
nhasi
have a
uno
bad attitude in our movement,
tava neattitude yakashata movement
which
yedu.
is expressed as what kind of a term?
Inoexpresswa sevara ripi?
Sorry?
La-
Them and us.
Isu navo.
You must see this all the time.
Munofanira kuramba muchizviona nguva
If
dzese
you go
izvi.
onto one of those forums,
Mukaenda pamaforum
they do it all
aya
the time.
zvinoramba zvichingouya izvi.
People tell you how bad they are,
Vanhu vanokudza kuti vanhu vakashata
which
sei,
then means how good we are.
zvoreva kuti isusu takanaka sei.
So we've fallen into this mindset of this them and us.
Saka tadonhera mumambure ekuti ivo nesu.
And what I try to explain
Zvandinosama
was this is
kutsanangura
not a matter of bad habits.
kuti haisi nyaya yemahabits
It
akashata.
is a bad habit now,
Habit yakashata
but it's
izvozvo hongu.
been created or precipitated
Asi iri kugadzirwa
because of the dispensation that we're in.
nekuda kwedispensation ratava mariri.
So if you go to the Spirit of Prophecy, not that one,
Nekuti ukaenda ku
Ellen White's
Spirit of
writing,
Prophecy
where
zvinonyorwa
does she?
naEllen White,
Where's the focus of her attention?
focus yeattention yake iri papi?
The Sunday law.
Sunday law.
Because at the Sunday law,
Nekuti
what
pa
do we
Sunday law,
do?
chii chatinoita?
What do we do?
Tinoita sei?
We do a work.
Tinoita basa.
Everything else was what?
Zvimwe zvese chaiva chii?
So that was a preparation, and now there's a work to do.
Yaiva gadziriro
Ellen
ezvinofanira
White's really
nebasa
clear about
rekuita.
that.
Ellen White anojeka
And
pazvinhu.
that's just another way of saying we now do our job or act our part.
Ndo imwe nzira yekuti takuchiita basa
So
redu kana kuti
prophecy
takuacta part yedu.
is
Saka
now
prophecy
controlling our behavior.
yakuchitungamirira
And
maitiro
we've
edu.
just had numerous definitions or explanations that our behavior is morality.
Tava nemadefinition akawanda akasiyana-siyana ekuti behavior yedu ndiyo morality.
So now you're being forced to behave in a way
Saka zvinova kumanikidzirwa kubehavia
that
nenzira
either you feel uncomfortable about
either yaunonzwa uri uncomfortable nayo
or you disagree with.
kana kuti usingatenderani nayo.
And the danger in all of this
Dambudziko mune
is
zvese
that we
izvi
forget
ndeyekuti tinokanganwa
that this was not the Sunday law, for one thing,
kuti yakanga isiri Sunday law pane
because the
chimwe
Sunday
chinhu,
law is ahead of us.
nokuti Sunday law iri kumberi kwedu.
So we're still observers.
Saka tichiri
That's one point.
vanoongorora, ndo imwe point.
And if you go to Matthew 13,
Zvakare tikaenda naMatthew 13
we are both the servants and the plants.
tiri maservants uye tiri
So we,
maplants.
right through history, these
Saka
prophetic lines,
mumanhoroondo dzese
we have
maprophetic
to
lines aya ese
handle the fact that we're both observers and actors at the same time.
tinofanira kuhandla nyaya yekuti tiri maobservers
And it's
nemaactors panguva imwe
harder to
chete.
do than you think.
Zvakaoma kuita than zvatinofunga.
So I'll give you a really silly example that
Ndichakupai
I've given to
mhenzazo
people.
uri siri wandakambopa vanhu.
Prophecy says there's going to be a Sunday law.
Prophecy inoti kuchava neSunday law.
Who is going to instigate that Sunday law?
Ndiani achaiitisa
The
Sunday
left
law?
or the right?
Veleft kana veright?
Right, Will.
Veright.
There was an idea a few years ago
Paiva nepfungwa makore
based
apfuura mashoma
upon Elder Tess's reference or comment on a Spirit of Prophecy quote.
maererano nereference kana comment yakaitwa naElder Tess
What
paSpirit
was
of
that
Prophecy.
issue? Does anybody know?
Yaiva nyaya yei, pane anoziva here?
The executive branch is not necessary
Executive branch
because of
harina
the
basa
SOP quote.
nenyaya yequotation yemuSOP.
And when Elder Tess read that quote,
Elder Tess pavakaverenga
people
quote
were under the
iyoyo,
idea that you don't need a right-wing executive branch.
vanhu vakafunga kuti hatina basa neRight wing executive
The
branch.
judiciary and the legislature would be enough,
Vejudiciary nevelegislature vanenge vakakwana.
rightly or wrongly.
Zvakanaka kana
Right or wrong.
zvakaipa, zviri
I
right
went on
kana zviri wrong.
record to say I disagree with that.
Ndakaenda papublic record kuti handitenderani nazvo.
Not that I disagree with what Elder Tess said, but I disagree with that idea.
Kwete kuti handitenderani nezvakataurwa naElder Tess, asi kuti pfungwa iyoyo
I
handitenderani
never went
nayo.
into the quote to explain why I disagree with people's interpretation of that.
Handamboenda muquotation kuti nditaure kuti sei ndisingatenderani neinterpretation yevanhu pakoti iyoyo.
So if that's the case,
Saka kana iriyo
we need a
nyaya yacho,
right-wing executive branch.
tinonida executive branch
Are we all in agreement with
yeveRight
that?
wing. Tese
However,
totenderana
they
nazvo.
get that.
Hazvisinei nekuti vanoiwana
So if
sei.
that's the case,
Kana iriyo nyaya
and that's
yacho,
what prophecy is teaching,
prophecy zviri izvo zvairi kudzidzisa,
should we be in agreement with prophecy or should we resist prophecy?
tinofanira kubvumirana neprophecy here kana kuti tinofanira kurambirana nayo?
Should you put your vote with prophecy or stand in opposition to prophecy?
Unovhota uchivhotera prophecy here kana kumira uchipikisa prophecy?
Monica, stand with
Monica.
prophecy or fight against it?
Unomira neprophecy here kana kuirwisanisa?
You're going to fight against prophecy.
Ucharwisanisa
If-
prophecy?
If that's what you mean, that it's the right wing who brings it, then we should fight against it, vote against it.
Kana zviri izvo zvazvinoreva kuti ndeve right wing
So
vachaiunza, then
this
tofana
movement is supposed to
kuvhota
resist
against
the
it.
prophetic imperative.
Saka movement ino inofana kuresista prophetic imperative.
All right.
Ndizvozvo.
Everybody agree with that?
Musanotendera nazvo.
Okay, that's what we should be doing.
Ndozvataifanira kuita.
Prophecy teaches one thing, and we should resist prophecy with all of our might.
Prophecy yodzidzisa chimwe chinhu, tinofanira kuiresista nesimba racho rese
To make sure it doesn't happen.
kuti tione kuti hazviitiki.
Everybody fine with that?
Munhu wese anobvumirana nazvo here?
Yep. Is that a spirit of prophecy guideline?
I-guideline here,
Advice.
Spirit of prophecy, and your advice. Yes,
It is. When I say it that way, you know that it is.
Pandozvitaura nechidaro motoziva
Ellen
kuti
White says,
ndizvozvo.
we don't wait for the Sunday law,
Nekuti Ellen White anoti hatimiriri
we
Sunday
resist it.
tinoiresist.
So lots of people fall into the trap of that argument.
Saka vanhu vakawanda vanowira mumambure
So
eargument
just want
iyoyo.
us to be clear
Toda kuti
that when
tingojekesa
we deal with this subject,
patinodhila nesubject iyi
that we're supposed to maintain a level of objectivity,
tinofanira kuramba takamaintaina
and
level
I define that
yeobjectivity.
that
Izvi
we are a prophetic
ndinozvidefine
movement.
ndichiti tiri movement iri prophetic.
And then I said,
Ndobva ndazoti
if you start doing them and us,
ukatanga kuita zvekuti isusu navo
you'll get into a problem.
unopinda
What's the
mumatambudziko.
problem that you're going to get into?
Dambudziko nderipi rauchapinda mariri?
The same as
Rakafanana nere
terms of one is a corporate, and so are you. So you're bound
Yekuti-
by the same rules.
imwe corporate, saka unosungwa nemitemo yakafanana.
I agree with that. Anyone else?
Ndotenda nazvo. Pane mumwe here?
I was going to say you lose objectivity. You become part of the problem.
If you do this, you lose objectivity.
Unoluza objectivity ukaita izvo.
Them and
Unova
us.
part yeproblem.
Us.
Ivo nesu,
That's this is we, us,
ndisu,
and that's the enemy.
uyu ndiye
Because these are
muvengi.
enemies, aren't they?
Nekuti ava vavengi.
So now
Sounds
everybody
fair.
on the right
Munhu wese anenge ari
is your
kuright
enemy.
anenge ari enemy yako.
What do all these people want?
Ava vanhu vese vari kudei?
They want the Sunday law.
Vari kuda Sunday law.
Sorry? Oh, sorry. They want a Sunday law,
Vari kuda Sunday law.
and we don't.
Isu hatidi.
So they're the bad people,
Saka ndo
and
vakashata.
we're the good people.
Isu
And what we're
vakanaka.
supposed to do
Chii chatinofanira kuita
in this law, in this dispensation,
mudispensation iyi?
Daniel 11:41.
Daniel 11:41.
I won't quote Daniel 11:41, but come out of her, my people.
Tinofanira kubuda kubva mavo.
But they hate them. We're not going to do anything for them.
But
So when we
tinotovavenga,
start
hapana
getting
chatichavaitira.
wrapped
But
into this
tinotanga
moral framework
kuputirwa
where we
moral
become the
framework iyi
actors
yatinozotanga kuva
and we take on the
ma-actors.
role of the left.
Totora role yeve left.
I'm going to have to stop. Okay. What ends up happening is
Chinopedzisira chaakuitika
we lose,
ndechekuti
I'll go with it, we lose objectivity.
tinorasikirwa
And the
neobjectivity.
people that we are supposed to be supporting or helping,
Vanhu vatikufanira kunge tichisapota kana
you
kubetsera
can't help any longer.
hauchagoni
'Cause they become
kuvabatsira
your enemy.
nekuti vanova muvengi wako.
And above all, we need to remember what our purpose here on earth is,
Pamusoro pazvo zvose ngatirangarirei kuti basa
that
redu
we're an
pano pasi
extension of the
nderiri.
kingdom of heaven.
Nderekuti tiri extension yeumambo hwekudenga.
So that was the point I was trying to make.
Saka ndopfungwa yanda ndichizama
And
kubuditsa.
I can't remember the wording that I used, but obviously it got lost in the
Handichazivi
translation.
mavara anda ndichida kutaura asi zvarasika mutranslation.
So I'll summarize.
Saka
When I say we're a
ndichapa
movement of prophecy,
pandakati tiri movement yeprofesi
we're supposed to be outside of the problem
tinofanira kunge tiri kunze kwedambudziko
and
racho
observe what's going on.
totarisa kuti chii chiri kuitika
even in the history of the Sunday law.
kunyangwe munhoroondo yesunday law.
And then I said we should stay away from morality issues.
Ndikazoti tofanira kuita stay away kubva
What I
kumaissue
didn't mean
emorality.
is that we
Zvandaisareva
stay away from issues.
ndezvekuti ngatisiyane
It
nemaissues.
means how we speak about and report on issues
Inyaya yekuti zvatinotaura nekuripota panyaya
as a corporate body.
secorporate body.
When we do our little preamble of an article,
Patinoita
when we
kanhoroondo
give
kedu,
our emoji comments
patinopa
at the bottom,
patinotaura article, patinoisa maemoji edu
it shouldn't be,
tichikomenta,
yeah, I hate them, they're
hatifaniri
bad
kutaura
people,
tichiti ava ndovavenga
or
vanhu
whatever
vakaipa,
variation of that idea that you want to say.
kana kuti ingava variation ipi yepfungwa iyoyo yatinoda kutaura.
The us,
Isu
people on the left,
vanhu vekuleft
don't misunderstand me,
musa
don't need
Tadza
saving because they're
kundinzwisisa.
on the right side.
hatinidi kuponeswa nekuti tiri kudivi
And who's
rakanaka,
going to save their enemies?
saka ndiani achazosevha maenemies aya.
That's why when you go to the New Testament,
Ndosaka paunoenda
you
kutestamende
see this
itsva
model being played out over and over again in the work and ministry of Paul.
unoona model iyi ichiramba yadzokorodzwazve
He doesn't go
mubasa
hating
neministry yaPaul.
them.
Haaendi achivenga
They're
achiti
his
avo
mission field.
ndivo mission field yake.
That was the point I was trying to make.
Ndiyo point yandaichitaya
And I
kuita.
think that's what Arian said in his answer.
Ndofunga kuti ndozvataurwa
Okay, we've run out of
naArian
time
mumhenduro yake.
and we've got
Tapererwa
internet
nenguva,
problems.
intaneti
Time to
yedu
pray.
yakanganisika, ngatifarei nemunamato.
That you've given us the privilege of life, health, and strength.
Mwari vatsvene, tokutendai nekuti matipa privilege yeupenyu, health
We thank you
nesimba.
that we can openly discuss things,
Tokutendai nekuti togona kudhiskasa zvinhu zviri pachena,
that we can disagree with one another,
uye kuti togona kutama
and that we see this
disagree pakati
as a
pedu,
safe place to learn,
uye tinoona nzvimbo ino iri safe place
to make
yekudzidza,
mistakes,
yekuita mamistakes,
to not feel judged.
totadza kunzwa kunge tajajwa.
Breathe upon us the breath of God through this camp,
Femerai mweya waMwari paburikidza
as
necamp
we
ino,
soon enter into the Sabbath hours.
apo taakupinda mumaawa
May we
eSabata.
maintain the spirit of humility
Dai taimaintaina mweya wehumility
and of forbearance.
uye weforbearance.
Bless those who are hearing online.
Komborerai vari kunzwa paonline
In Jesus' name, amen.
muzita raJesu. Amen.